Shalom Israel. I'm going to continue where I left off at previously in Hosea, the first chapter, the 11th verse. And what I want to do is give a quick synopsis on what I talked about previously. All right, the word that I wanted to concentrate is the word Jezreel, because we see here now is that northern kingdom is being associated with three words. The three words is Jezreel, Lo Ruhama, and the word Lo Ami. And the word Jezreel means to scatter. The word Lo Ruhama means no mercy. And the word Lo Ami means not my people. This is very, very important for us to understand. All right. And in verse 11, where it talks about Jezreel, and I'm talking about the ingathering. The ingathering happens at the seventh month, the seventh Sabbath month. And the seventh Sabbath month is very important that we understand that three holy convocations happens during this time. At the sighting of the new moon, we have the blowing of the shofar. Then after that, we have the Day of Atonement. And then after that, finally, we have what we call the Feast of Tabernacles, where the Messiah is now dealing or dwelling with the nation of Israel. But this is going to happen at the ingathering. The ingathering is associated with the Messiah redeeming and coming back to tabernacle amongst his people. Everything is synonymous. When we read the scriptures, and I'm going to go into that a little bit more in detail, the Messiah is always dealing with Israel in agricultural terms. The word aviv is an agricultural term. We're talking about the time of the barley, when the barley is ripe. All these things are very, very important in helping us to understand the scriptures. This is the reason why I brought out the word Jezreel and wanted to define it a little bit more and helping us to understand that where it says, "For great shall be the day of Jezreel," we're talking about the restoration of northern and southern kingdom. We're talking about the ingathering. And to go into a little bit more depth about that, let's go to Zephaniah 3:18. Zephaniah 3:18. The Messiah said, "I will gather." When it says "I will gather," we're talking about ingather. Okay, "I will ingather or gather them that are sorrowful for the solemn assembly." Which solemn assembly are we talking about? Because the Messiah fulfilled, okay, the spring feast. The spring feast, we're talking about Passover. We're talking about the Feast of Unleavened Bread. We're talking about first fruits. And we're talking about Pentecost. Or the way that I like to see it is the Feast of Weeks. So we're looking for the Messiah to fulfill, okay, the last three feasts, which happens in the seventh Sabbath month. Okay, where we're talking about, again, sighting of the new moon, okay, blowing the shofar. Then we're talking about the Day of Atonement. And finally, the Messiah tabernacling with his people. That's the ingathering. Okay, let's go to Ezekiel. All right, the 12th chapter. And again, we're still talking about the judgment and restoration of the nation of Israel. All right, Hosea was sent to prophesy against northern kingdom. And those three words are very, very important in helping us to understand when Paul, James, Peter, all these brothers start to speak, they're speaking about the regathering of the nation of Israel, and they're quoting scriptures from the Old Testament, okay? Because we talk, and the key word here is foreshadowing, all right? The things that was happening in the Old Testament, okay, came into a better visual in the New Testament. That's very important for us to understand. Ezekiel, the 12th chapter, and what I'm going to do is read 12, 1 through 7. All right. "The word of the Messiah came unto me, saying, Son of man, thou dwellest in the midst of a rebellious house." Okay, both northern and southern kingdom are rebellious. But who we're talking about here is northern kingdom. Because remember, Ezekiel prophesied against both northern and southern kingdom. Ezekiel, the 4th chapter, explains to us in detail that Ezekiel laid on his left side. When Ezekiel laid on his left side, he was making reference, okay, of taking on the burden of northern kingdom. So the left side, okay, is signifying northern kingdom. The right side, when Ezekiel laid on his right side, that was referring to southern kingdom. So we had Ezekiel, okay, who was a righteous person, who was a Zaddik. Okay, he was bearing the iniquity of both northern and southern kingdom. But Ezekiel, the 12th chapter, we have to understand which tribe. Collectively, it was both tribes, northern and southern kingdom. But Ezekiel the 12th chapter, keeping everything in its proper perspective, is talking about northern kingdom. Again, the word of the Messiah also came into me, which is Ezekiel, saying, Son of man, thou dwellest in the midst of a rebellious house. And this rebellious house is talking about northern kingdom, which have eyes to see and see not. And that's very important. The same thing is going on today. Our people see the things that's going on, but it's hard for them to understand that these are prophecies that was prophesied in the book of Matthew, the 24th chapter, and a matter of fact, throughout the whole Bible, that we are definitely living in the absolute last days. It is very, very important for us to come back into covenant relationship with the Messiah, okay, because the clock is about to strike 12. All right, we're very close now. They had ears to hear and hear not. They are a rebellious house. And that word rebellious, that's a very, very broad and big definition. To be rebellious is as witchcraft. Rebellion is as witchcraft. We must understand that. We're talking about a people that refuse to come back into covenant relationship. Therefore, thou son of man, talking about Ezekiel, prepare thy stuff for removing. That's very, very important. All right. Ezekiel is being told to prepare his stuff for removing. Somebody is about to be kicked out of the house for not following Torah. Okay. Prepare thy stuff for removing, and remove by day in their sight. In their sight. Whose sight this is pertaining to? And foreshadowing, it's going to be both northern and southern kingdom. All right, I don't want nobody to misunderstand what I'm saying. But this right here directly is talking about northern kingdom about to go into exile. And remove by day in their sight, and thou shalt remove from thy place to another place in their sight. In their sight. All right, that's very important. It may be they will consider. Who's the they? The they is referring to northern kingdom. Though they be a rebellious house. So we see that word happening again, that that northern kingdom is a rebellious house. And again, I can't say this enough. I'm talking about both houses, because it talked about in Jeremiah the 3rd chapter that when northern kingdom was given a bill of divorce, her treacherous sister Judah didn't understand that, listen, what you should be doing is understanding what's going on with northern kingdom. And what you should be doing is repenting and coming back into covenant relationship. But as we know in understanding the scriptures, all right, that the treacherous sister Judah didn't, okay, take, for example, what was going on with northern kingdom and repent. So both houses went into exile. We understand that. It may be they will, consider, though they be a rebellious house. Then shalt thou bring forth thy stuff by day in their sight. Okay? As stuff for removing. These are things that Ezekiel is doing inside Jerusalem, but therefore an example. It means something. All right? It's like a parable or an analogy. Ezekiel is doing a particular thing, but it's representing a bigger picture. And this bigger picture is that northern kingdom is about to go into exile because she refused to come back into covenant relationship. I'm going to read on. And thou shalt go forth at even in their sight. Even is at 12 o'clock. Because what's happening, I also understand too now, is that there are some brothers who don't know how to tell time from a Hebraic perspective. Even is when, okay, it's even. Even means even. 12 o'clock. All right? There's 12 hours in the day. There's 12 hours at night. So if you break up to 24 hours, 12 o'clock is at even. All right? Because Ezekiel's been given specific instructions. All right? Thou shalt go forth at even in their sight as they that go forth into captivity. So what's going on here It's going to signify that northern kingdom is about to go into captivity. We're talking about, all right, Ezekiel removing his stuff, all right, in their sight. And it's meaning that northern kingdom again is about to go into captivity. Okay, this is talking about again the judgment and restoration of Israel. And the penalty is for not following the laws, statutes, and commandments. The penalty is exile into the nations. It is told to Ezekiel in the 5th verse, dig thou through the wall in their sight, and carry out thereby. In their sight shalt thou bear it upon thy shoulders, and carry it forth in the twilight. The twilight is now what we consider 12 o'clock midnight. That's the twilight. Those are the twilight hours, because the days are usually broken up into watches. If the sun went down at 6 o'clock, if the sun went down at 6 o'clock, from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock, that would be the first watch. From 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock, that would be the second watch. From 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock, that would be the third watch. And from 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock, that would be the fourth watch. Because you don't need any watches when the sun is out. You're able to tell the time. But the nighttime hours are broken up into watches. All right? That's very important for us to understand. I'm going to read 6 again. And in this sight shalt thou bear it upon thy shoulders, and carry it forth in the twilight. Thou shalt cover thy face, that thou see not the ground. For I have set thee for a sign. These things that Ezekiel is doing is for a sign. It is important that we understand the signs also. Because the book of Matthew, the 24th chapter, or Matthew, I like to keep everything again in its proper Hebraic perspective, because when we say it in Hebrew, it forces you to think Hebrew. So Matthew in the 24th chapter, it explains to us about the signs and things like that of the coming of the Messiah, his second return here. Set thee for a sign unto the house of Israel. All right. The house of Israel is referring to northern kingdom. The house of Judah is pertaining to is pertaining to Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. The house of Israel here is talking about northern kingdom. And I did as I was commanded. And that's very important that we understand. And I don't want to get too defined in what's going on here, because I have to keep things moving. But I need to bring out where it says, and I, Ezekiel, did so as I was commanded. Ezekiel obeyed. Obedience. So remember the scriptures. It's better to obey than to make sacrifices. All right? And that was the whole thing. So I like this part here, and I just wanted to bring that out, is that Ezekiel was obedient. That's what makes a person righteous, is when he's obedient. And I, Ezekiel, brought forth my stuff by day as stuff for captivity. All right? That was the sign that the northern kingdom was about to go into captivity. In the even, I digged through the wall with my hand. I brought it forth in the twilight, and I bared it upon my shoulder in their sight. And that's very, very important for us to understand. Northern kingdom was about to go into captivity because she broke the laws, statutes, and commandments. All right, let's go into some more scriptures here to bring us some more edification here on what's going on here between northern and southern kingdom. Let's go to the book of John, the 1st chapter, the 12th verse. We're just going to touch on that, okay, because time is getting short here, and I just have to pick it up a little bit later in the next episode. 1 John, the 1st chapter, St. John, the 1st chapter, the 12th verse. But as many as received him, to them gave he power to become the sons of the Messiah, even to them that believeth on his name. Okay, so that's the whole thing here now, is that in order for us to get redemption, we must believe and follow the laws, statutes, and commandments. And that's very, very important for us to understand. All right, the role of Ezekiel. What was his mission? What was his goal? His goal was to prophesy against the abominations that was being done in both northern and southern kingdom. And then we have here, but as many as received him, because not everybody, okay, denied the coming of the Messiah. And with that, I'm going to have to stop, and I'll continue on in the next lesson with chapter 1, verse 12 in the book of John. Shalom.